Mollen Kenyena is with me this morning. Felix Nkunda is with me this morning. So yes, it is a full house. I would really love to know how they did spend their night. Maybe just to start off with you, Felix. Good morning. How are you doing?
Well, I'm awesome. Good morning, Philo.
I'm all right. I'm happy. It's a throwback Thursday. I'm always looking out for the interesting stories that come from each one of you here.
Definitely.
There is a lot that you people did and experienced that makes me happy. How's your night?
Well, my night was okay. A bit late night, lots of things to do. Had to pick up somebody. They had traveled in town. Yeah, but throwback, we are basically getting... Like this, one of my friends told me that, we have, actually the world is taking us back.
Yes.
In terms of fashion, style, way of life and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, sort of like going back in every other aspect of our life. So I'm thinking about clothes in particular. Okay. And I'm wondering, so it's
interesting.
I don't know which particular.
We're getting back in the old days where everyone, you can imagine the things that people would tell us, no, these clothes are for way back, for the 90s, for the 80s, for the 70s. Right now, if you're going to buy some of those vintage clothes, the money that you're going to have to pull out of your pocket is quite despicable. The amounts are crazy. But hey, I think the world keeps revolving. Good morning, Mollen. How are you doing?
Yes, a very good morning to you. I'm doing all right. And I don't know, when you talk about the throwbacks, that's the Thursday, it seems like lately there is not much to throw back. Maybe we actually enjoy the times now. If I look at the fashion trend then, or 10 years ago or 20 years ago, I'm like, no, I think I'm better off with this one. So I wouldn't connect fashion to throwback, but here we are. And of course, good morning, Uganda. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. But Philomena, we continue to see more cases of Ebola.
Yes.
And I think what is saddening me is now that it is crossing over to school-going children, and of course now mentioning schools in Kampala, this only gets worse because the doctors are not helping with their advice to the ministry. I don't know whether we have to be consulted as people living in Kampala as to whether they should be forwarding this kind of advice to ministry to lock down.
Yes.
Because maybe there are other interventions that can be done before we look at ultimately putting a lockdown, because we do know that people are still recovering from the COVID-19 lockdown. Now, pushing us to that side again, I think there should be more interventions to be done before we push it to the worst. But of course now it is sad, and we do hope that schools are very, very vigilant and can follow the guidelines given out by ministry to make sure that we're not again getting into the worst of the worst with more students getting Ebola. And of course now we're looking at examinations. Very soon we're also going to be going into the PLE, so meaning that this could actually take a toll on the candidate students that are likely to be sitting their exams, those who haven't. So no, not lockdown, not again. That is what I can say.
But honestly, if we continue at this space, okay, when we see now Ebola infiltrating education institutions and any other institutions that have quite a large amount of people, a big number of people convening in that same place, what do you expect? Obviously, any Ugandan right now, when you tell them about lockdown, this is not something they desire at this very given moment, considering that we know the repercussions of a lockdown. So I don't know where this is going to go, but it still goes back to you as an individual. What are you doing to make sure that we don't get this Ebola virus spreading at even a faster rate? Good morning, Robert.
Good morning to you and the entire team, and of course our viewers. Thank you so much for waking up with us. Well, talking about Ebola, I must say we all must interest ourselves in this and ensure that you don't contribute to the spreading of this disease, but you contribute to the preventing or stopping the spread of this disease. Because how do you position yourself? Personal responsibility to me is very key, but of course also the authorities should not be sleeping. Well, looking at the 6 cases that the Honorable Minister yesterday, while briefing the nation, said that they were registered, and information says around Luwaga, we keep on hoping that these children all recover because when she was addressing the media, she said, so far, accumulative numbers of medical personnel that have contracted Ebola stands at 15. So if we see health workers, 15, and out of the 15, 6 have succumbed to the disease. So that means people, we need to be more careful, and also be very vigilant. Report as early as possible. Now we talk about these 6 people, and here they have over 100 contacts they are probing to find out. That's a big number. That's a big number. So if the 100, you find some positive, then you have another. So such diseases, all you can do is be very, very careful as we wait for vaccination. You know, we had vaccines are coming in, we've gotten. So I think it's also that now we move into the direction. How fast can we, if we have what it takes to do that? Because I remember during COVID-19, one of the things that at least brought a smile on our faces was the fact that now there was a vaccine.
Yes.
And those that were very vulnerable, those vulnerable groups, if you remember very well, the elderly, people with comorbidities, those that were easy in contacts, teachers, security personnel, go to this and you know that there's a class you've protected. I hope and pray that we can get to that. Otherwise, well, things are not all that good, though there's no need to panic. Just do what you should do to keep yourself safe.
There is no need indeed to panic, but be very vigilant, be very cautious. We will always remind you of what to look out for, the signs and symptoms. How is Ebola transmitted, okay? And much as it is quite very dangerous, it can also be prevented, okay? And now again, this goes back to you as an individual, as a Ugandan. You have to do quite a lot to make sure that you don't position yourself where you will catch this. I believe when we do all this, we'll be able to beat this one as well. It is Good Morning Uganda. Well, we're taking you through our news. What's happening here in Uganda? What's happening on the East African bloc? What's happening on the African continent? And as you continue all the way in the international stories, well, right now, we start with our very own local stories. Robert.
And we'll begin with the European Forum, where His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni was the chief guest, while President Yoweri Museveni has encouraged the European community to tap into Uganda's investment climate to benefit from the wide African market. Museveni, who promises European investors similar terms as with other investors, wants Europe to tap into Africa's growing population growth as a potential market. This is said while opening the second EU Business Forum, where he openly invited people from Europe to invest in Uganda.
Well, of course, now still looking at the local news, the Parliament, where we see with a few days to parliamentary regime, stringent guidelines have been put in place for operation amidst alarming threats of Ebola, according to the leadership that has been part of the business committee that sat at Parliament. Now, it has also been resolved that to slash down the number of legislators to attend plenary sittings to only 100 legislators per plenary sitting.
And moving on, Ministry of Health is to start vaccinating contacts to confirmed Ebola cases in the next weeks. The Minister for Health, Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng, confirmed the development and pointed out that those vaccinated will be followed to assess the efficiency of the vaccines against Ebola Sudan strain. In other development, a section of medical workers through their umbrella organization, Uganda Medical Association, called on the Ministry of Health to consider imposing a gradual lockdown to Kampala and its neighborhood as the only way to minimize the spread and death arising from Ebola. This was in an exclusive interview with the association chairperson, Dr. Sam Oledu. However, a section of Kampala residents, especially in the informal sector, have rejected this call, with most of them rather suggesting government should intensify sensitization and awareness among members of the general public.
Now, Kisoro District Authority and the UN agencies are stuck with over 15,000 Congolese refugees that are camped at ungazetted areas within Kisoro District, having refused to go into settlement camps. Now, this, according to the authorities, poses both security and disease outbreak risk. While we see Congolese refugee, an influx in Kisoro did swell last week as fresh fights erupted between M23 rebels and the DRC government forces.
And on the international scene, Canadian MPs have rejected an attempt by a Quebec opposition party to push the country to cut ties with the British Crown, voting down the Bloc Québécois' parliamentary motion by an overwhelming margin. The tally in the House of Commons on Wednesday was 266 against to only 44 votes in favour. The effort stood little chance of success as Canada, a constitutional monarchy that has King Charles III as its symbolic head of state, requires the consent of both houses of parliament and all of its provinces to split from the United Kingdom's monarchy. But Bloc Québécois leader Yves Franco Blanchet said earlier this week that the recent death of Queen Elizabeth II provided an opportunity for Canadians to free themselves from the Crown, an institution he described in a statement as dilapidated. Now, Pope Francis has warned priests and nuns about the dangers of watching pornography online, saying it weakens the priestly hearts. The Pope, 86, was responding to a question about how digital and social media should be best used at a session in the Vatican. Pornography, he said, was a vice that so many people have, even priests and nuns. The devil enters from there, the Pope told priests and seminarians. As to how to navigate social media and the digital world, he said that they should be used, but told them not to waste too much time on it. The pure heart, the one that Jesus receives every day, cannot receive this pornographic information, he said. He advised the group to delete these from your phone so you will not have temptation in hand. Church teaching sees pornography as an offense against chastity.
Now, away from that, delegates of the Ethiopian government and the rival Tigray forces have started peace talks in Pretoria, the South African government has said, marking the first formal meeting between the two warring sides after nearly 2 years of bloody conflict. The peace talks, which have been convened to find peaceful and sustainable solution to the devastating conflict in the Tigray region, started on the 25th of October and will end on the 30th of October. Vincent Mugwenya, spokesperson for President Cyril Ramaphosa, told reporters. Now, South Africa is ready to serve as a host and provide assistance to the peace talks, Mugwenya said, adding that the country hopes that the talks would lead to a lasting peace for the people of Ethiopia. The talks are being mediated by an African Union team led by Nigeria's former President Obasanjo, supported by Kenya's former leader Uhuru Kenyatta, and South Africa's ex-Vice President Humzile Lambo Nguka. Now, a new report by the United Nations has warned that climate plans from governments worldwide remain insufficient to limit rising temperatures to 1.5 degrees Celsius as set out in the 2015 Paris Agreement. With the planet warming already, suffering from climate-related storms, heat waves, floods amid temperatures of 1.2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, the UN climate experts said on Wednesday that the world was still failing to act with sufficient urgency to curb greenhouse gas emissions. Now, the UN's climate experts have said emissions compared with the 2010 levels need to fall by 43% by 2030 in order to meet the Paris deal's goal. But in the latest report, the UN said current commitments from governments will in fact increase emissions by 10.6% by 2030. However, the report also found that this was an improvement over the last year's assessment, which said the countries were on a path to increase emissions by 13.3% by 2030.
Well, zeroing back to that story about the Pope talking to the priests and nuns in the Vatican and the seminaries when it comes to pornography, I mean, this is, I think, a gospel that has to be spread by everyone, not even only the clerics. Now I understand why here in Uganda pornography had become very problematic. If you see clerics also, the temptations are really crazy. So, but do you think they will heed to this? Do you think it's easy to fight that temptation if you're already into it? Maybe
but
just
how? For me, it's just, it doesn't click how the clerics get pornography. I mean, what are they looking for? First of all, these are people who are not probably, they don't know about anything like that. I'm imagining, how are they getting to pornography? What is the motive there? I think maybe they don't. Maybe Pope is just saying it, to emphasize, but I don't think that is a practice that is done there. I don't know.
Well, when you have the internet, you see, when you have the internet before you, you are tempted to look at very many things. It may not even be pornography. It may not be content that probably doesn't align with what you're doing. It could be your career, it could be your profession, it could be your moral ethics. So sometimes you find yourself maybe down that path.
If there is any sin or anything that is very, very dangerous, is getting addicted to watching pornography. The people who are very, very addicted. And now when it comes to someone, you see the Bible says, even in our Lord's Prayer, we say, lead us not into temptation. Now you find a person who totally shouldn't be dealing with women. And now you're there watching pornography. You yourself, you're putting yourself in harm's way. Because what happens after watching pornography? And those are people you find they dream when they are dreaming what they watched. At the end of the day, they end up doing what they saw. Pornography is very dangerous. You don't just end up watching it and you're like, you've watched. That's why even people go for deliverance to pray for them, to fight the demon of pornography. And for me, the Pope was very right and very okay with it, because it's something you're going to watch, you're going to dream, then at the end of the day, you're enticed to go and find out. Now, if it is a priest, that would be suicidal.
Anyway, seeing as it is Throwback Thursday, I would love to know, Felix, what are you throwing back to this morning?
Well,
not pornography.
Maybe as a... And you see, when it comes to my brother Felix there, he has a very strong background of seminarism and all that.
Yes.
So maybe I don't know how this... He's there to speak.
You will tell us. Yeah, but I know he holds the seminaries at heart because he's had an experience.
It's not very, very easy for... Everyone have their own challenges. That's a matter of fact. Robert will tell you he has had issues with pornography. Others will tell you they have had addiction to food. Like, everyone suffers with some sort of addiction. And I think it's something as that we must pay attention to, by the way, not something to laugh about. We must pay attention to some of these addictions because they are related, and later on they become very, very disturbing. You've had cases of rape, defilement. Sometimes those are the reasons as to why. Probably that's why. And you've heard of this wave of the pedophilia in church. Probably that's why the Pope came out to make comment about such things. But also to take note that life of being consecrated is not a very easy life. We must pray. That's why we are advised to pray for our brothers and sisters who take on these vacations as priests and nuns. We must pray for them very, very often. But throwing back today, just something to reminisce about is basically, for me, music. There's a time we were so crazy about these musicians in the US. There's that wave of the Boys to Men, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Westlife, the Ushers, the Casey and JoJo, the Joes. Like, those guys made our times. You would sing to their music, laugh like so. Like, we would literally name all Joe's songs, literally name all Backstreet. But the question is, what were the inspiration of these names? Example, Boys to Men, Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Jagged Edge. I'm just wondering. As of course, as you have those there, here in Uganda you have Kabako. So the inspiration, I'm just wondering, the inspiration, what inspires musicians when they're getting this?
You just want something that sounds maybe stylish, attractive.
But
What is stylish about Omutuju?
A name that you can...
They carried that, but I feel like even that culture.
Because just imagine if you have your real
names.
names and your in music, some names are even very long.
Juliana
Then
Kanyomozi,
pronouncing them. So, I think they
Rema
find
Namakula.
it-
Like,
But you're talking about that, Felix. Have you listened to some of the musicians these days? Have you come across some of their names? I feel like the culture has been carried forward.
Someone is
their
called-
names you will see and you will
Kukunku. What is
you're
Kukunku?
asking what's the inspiration behind this song?
It's
I
no
don't want to
wonder-
mention names, but every other day
Bandana.
I've been questioned. I've been
It's
questioning.
no wonder there was this
Raga
whole
Poti,
campaign
what the
on
hell?
social media when people were saying that, when you're being judged as a Ugandan about listening to European music, you're like, have you seen the Ugandan music though?
Yes.
Some songs are very... And then they trend very fast. Now, bandana, yes, no meaning, you can't understand, but it's a hit and
Anyway.
it's making rounds.
Mollen, what are you throwing back to this very specific Thursday?
Well, I think I would also lean to the Backstreet Boys, the music there, and Boys to Men. Songs like I Want It That Way, I think that's one song I would want to listen to today.
Okay. Yes, Robert, what are you throwing back?
For me, I'm throwing back to child upbringing. I was at some place yesterday, and the parent had gone to the washrooms. So I asked the child, "Where is your father?" The child kept on, "Wally, he's around. Where is your father?" And then the other young one came and exactly spoke where the father was. But before I left, I had them punish the young man severely. Yet speaking the truth is a virtue. I don't know if you remember.
Questions. You knew the plan was in it. But the one now brought problems for the children.
At first, I didn't know, but I was
The
like...
kid had kept quiet, the sensible. Then you're insisting.
Because I
as a
didn't
muntu
know.
omukulu, what
I didn't know.
the situation?
So I'm like, now, how are you going to tell that this child
You're the
not to
one who
lie?
brought problems for you.
Not to lie. You get it, Philo?
Yes.
Not to lie, always tell the truth. But when they tell
Is
the
that,
truth
is that
for a
what had
particular
taken you
thing,
to their home?
then
Make
you
sure
beat
they're
that
telling the
child.
truth.
Yes.
And weren't you ever beaten when mommy or daddy is in that particular place and then ask you, where is daddy? And if you make a mistake and say, Alimu, they beat you.
But,
When
you
they're
know,
telling you, don't lie, speak the truth. That's like,
at this point, I feel
you
like
catch?
anything would get you beaten for as long as it was perceived wrongly by your parents. Even if you're in the right, you could win yourself a very serious beating.
No, but Philo, honestly
Yes.
speaking, how do you answer such a thing that my mom is in toilet or daddy? Would you ever give such an answer? Honestly, let's be honest. You've ever given such... And because does she even announce when she's going there? That one now, hey, are you guys, you're here, I'm going. You just simply say, she's around Messi Manuwa. Why would you go in the details? And
But you know, sometimes children of a certain age...
these visitors, why would the visitor is the problem, not the kids. These
Well-
visitors. You're there. Why are you asking? Omwana akugambye tetumanyi. You're the problem.
Anyway, today being a Throwback Thursday, I remember...
Dad has said he's not around.
I remember there is a time I got a serious beating. Why? Because you know this whole habit of eating from different families. You know, you're playing with your friends, a couple of friends, and then you decide to go to their home and probably have lunch, go to the other home, have a snack, and all that. Yes.
And once they would invite you,
I mean, they invite you, so you don't know. But after the serious beating, I learned how to say no. Yeah, but before that, I was such a yes child that I would always go. And when you come back home, you fail to have your own meal. Now, the beating that you are going to get after that, it was quite intense. But I mean, there was a lesson to pick from there. I like these days. It's very hard to find a child in other people's homes, even if you're there, probably playing the game, and then you get that.
They don't
They don't even have the
what to give. These days,
There
you
is no
see,
food to give to that extra child.
children are playing, even yours is there, just here. They mention the child's name. First come. And next you see, they even create an atmosphere before they serve lunch. They can either hold until people have left, but those days it was joyous to eat and share together. You know, you can go to someone's place and they'll keep kabozi. They'll say, it is lunchtime.
But secondly
until you
also,
leave and
I
go.
think it is not ethical for people to overvisit. You, as people who visit people's places, be very, very conscious about the moods and how they change in the house, the times, the periods and how they change. Honestly,
how you have
for example,
to,
the best
yes.
time to visit. What's the best time to visit?
That is why you're supposed to make an announcement before, maybe like a week prior
besides
to,
that,
or
absolutely.
to, just to
That's
gauge
one of the
and
keys.
see,
Yeah,
yes.
you must announce your visit. Two, you don't visit in like meal times. I was told you must visit starting from 2 to 3. And by around 4:11, you're leaving because people are going to have probably evening tea. You can't visit someone at 7 a.m. Are you a class monitor, a home monitor? You cease to be a visitor.
Anyway,
like people are still waking up.
This topic of visiting,
Felix,
we'll be getting into
Felix,
it.
if someone visits you around lunchtime, how do you handle that situation?
Well, it's you know, personally for me, I grew up in a family where sharing is a vacuum. Actually, even if for me you came after lunch, I make sure they prepare something, tea or whatever, something small. Because for us in culture here, we know that we have a saying that
No Uganda njala terudda.
that also. So I remember at home, even if someone came, at least a glass of water. Like you can't let someone go without.
Yes, taking something.
Every time, because I know that's how I was raised.
And actually the deal was, even if you didn't have, you pretend you want to give because you knew a responsible person would shun the giving.
And then people would appreciate the thoughts.
Well, Robert, I just have one question. If somebody visited, is it okay for me to give them a bottle of Hallelujah?
Definitely, and that would be the best actually, because they would leave and be more healthy than they entered your house. So that is why this you should have. A visitor comes at any time, give him turmeric drink. Visitor comes, hallelujah, hajinga tiwa, banana fruit juice. I can guarantee you, after tasting it, they'll go looking for it everywhere. And at the end of the day, their health will be boosted because you're not here. I'm not feeling fine. I think
there are two things to expect after you give your visitor whatever you choose to give them. Whether they will come back, whether they will be, what they say, either they will be perpetual visitors, or you will never see them again.
Now there's a problem. With hallelujah, they may make your home their usual place.
So you need to trade smart.
It is Good Morning Uganda Throwback Thursday. Well, I think we will need to create some time to talk about these visiting habits because right now these are hard times.
Etiquette people need to learn
we need
them.
to get that
Honestly.
etiquette. We're going into a throwback jam. Guess who you're going to be watching? Celine Dion. Now, I am obsessed with this lady and all her music did wonders. At least you know one or two songs from this lady. I know.
I bet Robert does.
Yeah, I love Robert.
Well, so
you love what?
this time around, it's all coming back to me.
You love
It's what you're going to be getting from Celine Dion. When we get back, we'll be having another discussion on Good Morning Uganda Newsreel. We'll be back shortly.
Live.
How they did spend their night. Maybe just to start off with you, Felix. Good morning. How are you doing?
Well, I'm awesome. Good morning, Philo.
I'm all right. I'm happy. It's a Throwback Thursday. I'm always looking out for the interesting stories that come from each one of you here.
Definitely,
because, there is a lot that you people did and experienced that makes me happy. How's your night?
Well, my night was okay. A bit late night, you know, lots of things to do. I had to pick up somebody. They had traveled in town. Yeah, but throwback, we are basically getting, like this, one of my friends told me that like we have, actually the world is taking us back.
Yes.
In terms of fashion, style, way of life and everything.
Yes.
We are sort of like going back in every other aspect of our life. So I'm thinking about clothes in particular.
Okay.
And I'm wondering, so it's
interesting.
I don't know which particular.
We're getting back in the old days where everyone, you can imagine the things that people would tell us, no, these clothes are for way back, for the 90s, for the 80s, for the 70s. Right now, if you're going to buy some of those vintage clothes, the money that you're going to have to pull out of your pocket is quite despicable. The amounts are crazy. But hey, I think the world keeps revolving. Good morning, Mollen. How are you doing?
Yes, a very good morning to you. I'm doing all right. And I don't know, when you talk about the throwbacks, that's the Thursday, it seems like lately there is not much to throw back. Maybe we actually enjoy the times now. If I look at the fashion trend then, or like, 10 years ago or 20 years ago, I'm like, no, I think I'm better off with this one. So I wouldn't connect fashion to throwback, but here we are. And of course, good morning, Uganda. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. But Philomena, we continue to see more cases of Ebola.
Yes.
And I think what is saddening me is now that it is crossing over to school-going children, and of course now mentioning schools in Kampala, this only gets worse because the doctors are not helping with their advice to the ministry. I don't know whether we have to be consulted as people living in Kampala as to whether they should be forwarding this kind of advice to ministry to lock down.
Yes.
Because maybe there are other interventions that can be done before we look at ultimately putting a lockdown, because we do know that people are still recovering from the COVID-19 lockdown. Now, pushing us to that side again, I think there should be more interventions to be done before we push it to the worst. But of course now it is sad, and we do hope that schools are very, very vigilant and can follow the guidelines given out by ministry to make sure that we're not again getting into the worst of the worst with more students getting Ebola. And of course now we're looking at examinations. Very soon we're also going to be going into the PLE. So meaning that this could actually take a toll on the candidate students that are likely to be sitting their exams, those who haven't. So no, not lockdown, not again. That is what I can say.
But honestly, if we continue at this pace, okay, when we see now Ebola infiltrating education institutions and any other institutions that have quite a large amount of people, a big number of people convening in that same place, what do you expect? Obviously, any Ugandan right now, when you tell them about lockdown, this is not something they desire at this very given moment, considering that we know the repercussions of...
Was brought to you by simply make a small deposit of 99k and pay the balance mpola. You can pay in daily, weekly or even monthly installments while you enjoy your new phone. So what are you doing today? Visit any MTN shop near you and get the MTN cupboard. That's super easy.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body, because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Get connected today with the My Airtel 4G smartphone, the most affordable smartphone in Uganda. You get to enjoy free 1 GB for 1 whole year. My Airtel 4G smartphone, your best value for money. Visit the nearest Airtel outlet today and get one at only 250,000 Uganda shillings. Airtel, the smartphone network.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
It's a wonderful morning right here in Good Morning Uganda. My name is Philomena Mastiko, and it is a Thursday morning. This very minute we are going to be having a discussion about something interesting when it comes to education, the contribution okay, and the aftermath of the education systems we have in these countries. Now, usually when you go through all the stages of education, right from kindergarten, primary, when you cross over to secondary, when you cross over to the tertiary institutions and the universities, one of the expectations is that with all this education, all the time you have invested in, all the resources you have invested in to acquire this education, at least one thing, one contribution it should be able to make to your life is aiding you in finding a job. Now, we cannot get into all the advantages of getting a job and all that, but we know that it makes your life a bit better. Now, that is one of the expectations from you, the student, but even the people around you. Now, there is something that did happen in a video that surfaced on social media, where there is a lady who decided to ban her academic certificate, her university degree certificate, because why? She failed to get a job. Now, because of that, the university decided to retaliate by revoking her degree. And they're saying, well, if you feel we haven't done anything, if you feel that the education you attained from here, if you feel like the degree we gave you after the time you spent with us is not helping you, especially in getting a job, well, you don't deserve it. Now, there are very many discussions that are following this, and maybe that is what we're going to be getting into. You could also get onto our socials and tell us, was this the right way to deal with a situation like this? Both from the lady who decided to ban her degree certificate and also the university revoking her degree. But maybe to look at it from an extended point of view, and this time maybe I'd really love to hear from you, Felix, first. How much power does the university have when it comes to your aftermath after education? Because yes, while you're still having the education, you're still under their protection, you're still under their monitoring, their surveillance and all that. But when you are done with this, how much power do we give these institutions for them to actually be able to revoke your degree? Because the argument is, this is my degree, I paid for it, I was there, so it's mine. You cannot take it away from me anymore.
I don't know if you people ever take time to read on your graduation certificates. Do you even know the words on that paper?
Honestly, I don't remember,
Bob,
apart from the class of the degree and a few things here and
That's
there.
the thing. You had better read all the information there, because it can only be a degree when it's an award, because it's an award. It's an award. That's why they say we have awarded. And what makes it a degree is because it is authored. Because for an institution to be able to award that degree, it gets through a process. For example, in Uganda, there is the National Council for Education. There are processes. That's why we have institutions who can award up to a particular point or certain level. We have tertiary. We also have universities who are chartered to do that. So, by far, the fact that, you see, the relationship between a student and a university is authorship. So they have so much, even in the aftermath, if you ask me clearly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, now also looking at the, when I was following up, the discussions again were apportioning them, that they were looking at it from the shallow end, saying that the university revoked this degree and all that. But to hear from you, Robert, the fact that there is a job, because this lady here, her complaint was that she failed to get a job. But then again, there was a fraction of people who believed that, listen, the universities, or these universities, that tertiary institutions, seeing as they're usually the last levels of education we get, they're not responsible for creating the job employment for you. All they do is to make sure that they position you, they put you in a place where you can actually walk to an institution, you can walk anywhere and see if you can get that job. Now, they believe that there is also a part of work that has to be done by government in all this after the education system. What next? Because if we are to look at the statistics, how many people graduate every year? I mean, and none, already here we do have the public universities, we do have the private universities. So if you are to make a total count up, it's not really possible that everybody is going to walk away with a job after they have come out of these universities. Now, what is the role of government in all this cycle?
Well, before I even go to government, I think every time we talk about family and upbringing and impacting values, one of the values of life is patience. Second is having a broad perspective of looking at things. Now, many people have gone to university. Many people have come out with degrees, even first class. 10 years down the road, they have no job. And they still keep that certificate until one day opportunity rises. Or they're doing things completely different from what they did study. Very different from what they did study. So family and how you bring up the child, but also the environment. Some people are loners.
Yes.
And because they are loners, they don't share with people. You know, they're in their own world. That is why such shocks of life take them to that extreme. You've had people who lose jobs and they commit suicide. You've had people who lose marriages and they commit suicide. They take poison. You've had men who have had that my wife is sleeping with another man, allegedly, or confirmed. Other man kills himself.
Yes.
Or gives poison to the wife. So it is very important to know that you should not be a loner. Should be a person when faced with situations, you go to the right people to speak to. No wonder we had a report that indicated 14 million Ugandans were grappling with one form or the other of mental illness. I want to believe maybe that was a form of mental illness. But going back to government, one, what is our education system like? I remember when we were graduating, and this is uniform, go and be job creators, not job seekers.
Who was saying that?
You know? You ask yourself, these you're telling to go and be job creators, not job seekers. While they were at university, what did you impact in them that can enable them to be job creators and not job seekers? If the system is creating job seekers, and that is what the education system is putting on table, that is where we are getting these problems. In addition to that, the mindset right from school, you get it? So the child is trained that you're studying to be employed. And moreover, many of them are trained that there is a white-collar job waiting for you somewhere.
Yes.
Study, work hard, get your first class, the world will be yearning for you. Which world may not yearn for you with your first class if that first class is not a solution to problems? That's why you find that many people studied different things from what they are doing today. Because they ended up seeing that maybe what they did study could not put food on the table, or they lacked passion or other factors, and there was another opportunity. That very degree may not have been able to get you a job, but maybe there is something else you could do. Many times I go to Chikubo, you know Chikubo?
Yes.
And you find people you are with that campus, people have various degrees, they're in shops and they have mastered the art of business.
Yes.
They're doing very well. I have a friend of mine, he is a very good communicator, he's a veterinary doctor. But he was excellent when it came to radio. If he's to MC at an event, it's very expensive. So, the problem of our mindset and the system of our education, what it teaches, these are the problems that arise. That this young lady grew up knowing, I'm going to school, I'm going to get a white-collar job. What she got at the university, I don't know what her degree was. Maybe it wasn't among those that are so much desired, or other factors influenced her getting a job. Look, where I cling on to so much of mindset, today, where if you go to people we used to call abateko, those guys that go to technicals. Previously, if someone went to a technical, I would say, poor grades, or they don't have money for that person to continue studying.
Yes.
But these are people who come out, that even if they have graduated today, Tomorrow, Felix's car will break down. And a person who has left a technical institute and did mechanics will get money from Felix that very day. A plumber, you know, is from the technical. The following day you need someone to work on. This guy is there for you. You know, so because technicals or polytechnics have hands-on. You come out when there is something you can do in the world. You can be self-employed. Today His Excellency is looking at skilling the boy and the girl child. They are given basics and the world needs that. So as long as you have an education system, I want to take you back about 8 years back, a young lady who jumped from this building, the tallest building. She climbed high and down she came. Because she had looked for a job, she went, did masters, again another year, she couldn't get a job, so she decided to take her life. There wasn't that thinking that maybe I can do the little I can do or any other job and still earn a living as I wait for the opportunity for my degree to be able to give me something to do. Mindset change is what we need. The attitude we create in these children, it is good, but assuring them that it is this degree you're going to get at the end of the day, that you have to present and get a job, is a very big problem.
Okay. Now, Felix, Robert did mention something that I've heard everywhere, where they've been asking Ugandans, especially the graduates, to be job creators and not job seekers. Again, this has become like a rant that we've had everywhere. But also looking at the realities of unemployment, we know that it's very, very obvious that Uganda's population, which by the way is 3/4 filled with the youth, is quite unemployed. And telling people to create their own jobs, to be the ones to create jobs as opposed to coming and seeking. Here in Uganda, what is the reality of that? How easy is it? Is it anyway easy? Is it hard? Have we availed enough resources for these youths to actually be able to be job creators? Or are the youth willing to be job creators? It could be the other way around.
It's even laughable when you bring it in that context, Philo. And I'll give you a clear example. I know most of you people, our viewers and my colleagues here, are on TikTok. That thing they call TikTok. I want you to go and download the Chinese TikTok. I don't know if there's a difference, but or follow Chinese TikTokers. Something like that. Hey, vis-a-vis Ugandan TikTokers. That's when you'll know the kind of mess you're in as a country. When you get to, okay, go to Facebook, like some pages of Chinese or Japanese, and come to Africa and like the pages of Africans.
Yes.
Go to Instagram, go to all those Snapchats. You will be shocked the content shared. As a Chinese child of the age, by the way, like 5, 6, is sharing how to make, for example, a microchip something, you know, or a walkie-talkie. Yes. At the age of 6, here in Uganda, the agement of age 6 is somewhere singing all the lyrics of a Burna Boy song and dancing to it and what. Just raise the bar a bit high. Go to the ages of 12, 13. Go to a Chinese child. They are making phones. These phones you see, the those are people's names who come to a 13-year-old here in Uganda. They are competing on how to twerk. There's something called twerking. How to make their buttocks dance, 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 dance. Those are the only videos you see. That is the innovation you have. When you go to the ages of about 20 in the Asian world, the Chinese, the Japanese, and come to the 20-year-old here, they are smoking shisha in their ears and nose. These things are on. I'm not. You put TikTok. They are competing on bringing smoke of shisha in the nose, the eyes, the ears. Every hole on their face is bringing smoke. They know how to spell names with smoke. That is the people. Those people who are burning their certificates, saying they are not. I bet that when you scroll out of 10 videos on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or what, because these are the ones that, these are like study areas we use to know the kind of cluster of youth we have. Because they are there, they're on social media. So it helps us inform what their interest is. I bet you can see a youth, out of 10 posts, can you get one youth who's talking about a cassava recipe or a type of cassava in Uganda in the age of 2022?
And that if it's there, they'll have...
that's why I'm asking, have you ever seen one? Have you ever seen any? And the kid is there saying, for us, I plant my onion gardens in the, you know, when the season has started, like he's helping you follow up with what you tell me. Now, these are the people you're talking about saying they are not employed. Because I'm using a study area of social media, because that's the only way we see the activeness of different youths.
Yes.
And then it informs us, because they are there. If you want youth today, you go to social media. They are there. Go to their WhatsApp statuses. There are something they call memes. Do you know what they're talking about? There's a video that circulated of students, I don't know about S2. S2. Those girls, did you see the various videos?
Yes.
Now, look at the mentality of a child in S1, S2. He's already promising hell to break loose for the married women as long as they come to holiday. These are the people who are tearing what? For you think you want to help them, they don't want to be helped. How do you get a phone and hold even your face you put, we are coming for your husbands. The husbands, those are your fathers. You're coming for your fathers or grandfathers. Now, you people, when you discuss issues of youth, you need to be realistic. Let's be realistic. Do these people, what are the kind of minds they're dealing with? It's like you saying you're going to get a cow's mind, and say, well, depends how you see it. But the truth is, it is what it is. The examples are all over you people. And this is the problem. You want to hide your heads under the sun, and your buttocks are all flaring around. That's the problem of most of the black people. These things we see are a representation of the kind of youth, the kind of students. Drugs. Where are drugs most traded today? Not streets. In schools.
Institutions.
That's the truth. If you want to get drug users, I don't want to be said again, I'm saying, go to schools. Just go and stand in front of a gate, say,
drug test.
You will be shocked.
Most
to
of
the
the institutions
bone.
of learning. Oh.
No, S1 to S6.
But somebody would also ask, Felix, how has it become so easy anyway? I mean, for things like drugs, the accessibility, why is it so easy for these people to access? I mean, what is the root problem? Because I feel like we are looking at this from, you know, midway all the way up. But the root problem, why are they accessible? Who is making them accessible? Whose fault is it? Because we actually now need to point fingers, I think, where we are. Yes.
Those are some of the challenges or the evidences of a third world country. They grapple with such challenges, but it's because of mindset. The things that we perceive to be cool are dangerous things. Like the examples I've given you, relate them with what you're asking, Philo. Girls today, between the ages of 13 to 25, think it's cool to know how to dance, to shake your buttocks, and dress skimpily, if that word is even there. They think that's cool to them. You get the point. Yes. But the people we are admiring, the people who made the Zuckerbergs of this world, started innovating at what age? At the same age. You get the point. We have become masters of copying. Go into how we dress here. Someone will there's this thing they call Dio. Now everyone will deodorize themselves. Even now I saw suitcases of kids in P1 baby class, they are putting. Do you even know what they want? Dolce and Gabbana. They don't know what, but We are masters of copying. And that is what was left for us by colonialists. Because this thing started somewhere. I've continuously said, look at the kind of professions. What actually, funny thing when you call them professions, how can someone say that your profession is a secretary? How is that a profession? To do something I can equally do. Lately, people no longer need such people. Not that there's anything wrong with that study, but it is still trendy because we have decided to stay in the same confines of comfort.
Who are colonial masters wanted such people
By
to help
then,
them in their administration,
by then.
effective administration.
But today, I have this phone here. I can reply all my emails. I can make appointments. I can have over 7 meetings with different, over 30 people on my, tell me why I need. Most recently, you've seen that banks are phasing out contact. I have my bank transaction up to a tune of over 1 billion on my phone. When will I go to see a teller? But none of us is realizing this. We are still there teaching finance and banking, banking and finance, commercial banking of what? Why are they going to work? Banks are closing every day. Because people can simply, but people are there. Okay, finance and banking. You're in the class. Go to Makere, you see a class of BBA. Over 4,000. They are learning in Windows. Some of us who are teaching, you can hardly mark exams.
Yes.
But, and we are all there stagnant. Someone says that, what did you study? Procurement officer. Which businessman can give you there to procure for him? Because that's where they handle the... Philo, you start up a company and you hire Kirabo to procure. Mama, oba munafuna bachi. You can't know what you need, what you don't need.
Yes.
So, and these are things that we are shy to talk about. The only thing we pride in, is even no longer here anyway. Which Kasozi? But those things have changed. I can you want me to tell you where they were evil are? They were evil in Musa Bodes of this world. They're in Deva now and Katwe. They are in Namaves of this world. They are innovating. They are there, what we call these people who do metal. Those are the Vaivus now.
And you know,
they're innovators.
And you know these days, they tell you that the technical schools are actually turning out to be more productive compared to the skills that you go and sit in front of the blackboard.
Everywhere in the world, let me tell you this.
Acquire skills that are practical because the world needs solutions to problems.
And that's the thing.
Yes.
And the only thing that gives you value, you must be a problem solver. That's why people will come to you. If you don't accumulate knowledge that solves problems, you're wasting time. And that should be something for you, whoever who's in university.
But isn't that why the Ministry of Health actually decided to change the curriculum right now? Because when you go through it, they will tell you that it's a bit more practical. Secondary, if the children are ending at about 3 or 3:30, the rest of the hours are for them to actually get on ground and see.
Which ground?
I would say
how many schools have gardens?
I would say, Felix, that government rushed even that decision. Should have been done yesterday. But I think either they were under pressure, because even when you look at the new curriculum for lower secondary, one problem you're going to find there is even those supposed to implement it don't understand it. They don't understand it. So we must go to the drawing board. As long as the education system is not creating problem solvers. That is why I told you that technical institutions are now taking over. Many parents are preferring that a person who has gone to a technical institution, this BTVET and all others, those guys come out and they're solving problems. Philo, you wake up, that door can't open. You can't do, you're stuck.
You call the carpenter.
This guy is going to come and they're getting money. Your car can't move.
Yes.
And all these other issues. So education that is not answering solutions, and not bringing solutions, cannot be marketable.
And actually, maybe if I'm to add something to rejoin that to what Bob is saying here. education is not even just about values, because you may create wrong values or wrong solutions. For example, it must be informed by the development plan of a country. Where does the country want to go? That's why it is cynical. Let me tell you, it is cynical, it is blasphemy that Uganda schools don't have gardens. But they pride in talking about the backbone. Oh, which backbone? That backbone must be broken.
Hello, government programs.
How do you say?
If you're looking at
if you want to focus on that, this agriculture,
parish development model, everything, the monies we are giving is tailored
one
into
of
that
the first
direction
requirements of any school to be in place. Yeah, there should be a garden. But you know, schools today, they're in one room. Flat, see? Which flat? The school is in one room. What teacher was teaching here? Teacher Sarah, the Juminas plant, Kotolido Nas.
Is teaching children.
But yeah, remix. And those are the schools. Now, what do you expect? Be a user certificate. But let us be serious about it. Actually, the word is the government. Let us try to be intentional about education. Intentional. Because that will help us know what we expect out of it. But let me tell you, graduations are now, I think this week, if tomorrow, Mukono is graduating some people. I'm lucky I have also siblings who are graduating, but we are all in the same, we are caught in the same way. Let me tell you, I know lawyers who are still job seeking.
Oh, yes.
And it's sad. We have been out of school almost 10 years, but there is no work.
And the result to anything that is available.
Because people are building every day. The fundis are getting work, lawyers are not getting work.
No, you go to
where is the mistake?
You go
doctors have no jobs. For white porters have jobs, doctors don't have jobs.
The question is, are qualifications still relevant for job opportunities? Are qualifications still relevant for job opportunities? Get onto our Twitter, #ABCJMU, and I'll be sharing some of your feedback that has already come in as we go on with Good Morning Uganda. We'll be heading in for a break. When we get back, we'll be doing the press review. What is happening in the New Vision, Daily Nation, and Daily Monitor?
We bring you a fresh, well-researched program to help you identify opportunities for investment, job creation, growing your entrepreneurial skills, wealth creation, and social transformation.
We have a product that is ready for schools, supermarkets.
Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Every week we showcase opportunities for creating new products and services.
I now harvest a lot of cocoa. When I harvest it, I sell. After selling, I put money in my project. I have 2 projects. One is for construction of my house. 2 is for educating my children.
Excellence in innovation, the passion and drive to succeed, and the right mindset to grow your business. Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Brought to you by Operation Wealth Creation.
The Ministry of Health informs the public that there are confirmed cases of Ebola in Uganda. We, however, urge the public not to panic as the situation is being managed. The Ministry of Health further reminds the public to be on the lookout for any persons who may show signs and symptoms of Ebola. These include high body temperature, abdominal pains, diarrhea, vomiting, bleeding from the body openings such as the nose, eyes, and mouth. Please inform the nearest health worker immediately if you see anyone with these signs and symptoms. To prevent Ebola from spreading further, please take the following preventive measures: regular washing of hands with water and soap, avoid handshaking and hugging, avoiding any contact with any suspected Ebola patients. Any person who dies suddenly should not be buried but reported to the nearest health worker or LC1 immediately. For further information, please call the Ministry of Health toll-free number on 0800 100 066 or send a free SMS to your report on 8500. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF and World Health Organization.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Press review this morning, a Daily Monitor. The big story, government speaks out on Kampala, a lockdown. Well, now this is again a conversation that has been going up and about. Well, government officials and health authorities have separately told the public to adhere to the standard operating procedures in order to check the spread of the deadly virus, whose further spread could lead to lockdown of the city ahead of the festive season. Princess Anne rallies world in Ebola fight, of course, on her royal visit. And in the picture over there, we can see her with President Museveni and the daughter Natasha Karajuri exchanging pleasantries with Her Royal Highness Princess Anne and her husband, Sir Tim Lawrence, during a dinner at the residence of British High Commissioner Kate Airy in Nakasero, Kampala on Tuesday evening. In more news, DRC accuses Rwanda of enabling war and looting. Makere is stuck with 120,000 transcripts, and ex-principal judge loses case for higher retirement benefits. Lapses that could have exposed a school to deadly fire. A number of loopholes could have led to the midnight fire outbreak that left 11 people dead at the Salama School of the Blind in Mukono district. Moving on to the second page of the Daily Monitor, giving you still a more detailed story on how Makere University still has 120,000 uncollected and claimed transcripts. Now, today in history, first batch of expelled Indians leaves Uganda. Also in history, US-Soviet Union step back from brink of nuclear war. We also do have the New Vision, a number of stories trending over there. Mollen, what are we looking at?
Then the New Vision, also an update on the school fire, where parents have been taken for DNA testing. That is a story on page 7. And government issues tight labor export rules, certificates required before one flies out. That is on page 6. But also they give you a picture right there. Princess Anne hosts President Museveni. And also more in the New Vision, they look at Ntunga Mokao held over ghost health centers. That is a story on page 12. Eroku helps people with hearing problems. That is on page 18 and 19 of the New Vision.
And looking at the sports section, Chinoi cards a 69 for 3 shots lead. And showing you the day 1 leaderboard, the Aska Uganda Pros Open. And Joe Specialists Bright Stars hold URA in league tie. And FIFA World Cup, Man United's defender Rafael out until World Cup, but Cristiano Ronaldo back in squad for the UEFA Europa League. And the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 countdown, we are getting closer by the day. 24 days to go.
And the New Vision Sports, also more on Chinoi, who is firing 69. On day 1, they also give you a task mark Uganda Open First Round Professionals, the top 10. The numbers are there. And of course, you can follow up on the game. Varsity games now a national issue. Now they also give you Prime Minister Nabanja on her take about Ndeje hosting the East Africa University Games in December. Inside story, Uganda Olympic Committee House plans stall, looking more into what the Olympic Committee has in store and where they plan to build their offices. Well, that and more in the New Vision Sports.
The Daily Nation. Hustler cabinets. President William Ruto's new army of 22 cabinet secretaries, Attorney General Justin Muturi and Secretary to the Cabinet Mercy Wanjao, approved by Parliament and gazetted yesterday, are taking over from the Uhuru cabinet at a time the new administration is under pressure to deliver on the mandates at the highest level of public services. Also inside, you'll be seeing how Azimio walked into a Kenya Kwanza trap on approval of the nominees. Investigations are being carried out on man in Sharif shooting saga withdrawn case against a son. Be sure to catch those details. And Uhuru joins Tigray peace negotiations. The Daily Monitor, New Vision and the Daily Nation are definitely giving you a whole cover-up of what's happening here in Uganda and crossing over to Kenya. So grab yourself a copy of each and find out what that is. But also getting onto our poll question where we wanted to find out from you what you think about the education system, what you think about, the presentation of all these transcripts when it comes to grabbing some of these job opportunities. Well, I do have some feedback coming in from one of our viewers who's saying that the idea of creativity and innovation is there, but it depends on where. Thank you so much. And also I do have another opinion coming in saying that even if we're talking about mindset change, but there is a scenario in Uganda where you find son or daughter of a rich person who hardly even attended lectures and they got low grades, but if you apply for a job with that person, she or he is given a vacancy. Now, a vacancy, which criteria are they using to select failure? So I think what you're trying to talk about here is sectarianism, well, rather nepotism, and it's quite evident. But thank you so much for your contribution. Now, coming in from Vincent, you're saying that today is actually your happiest day because we're talking about this issue, talking about how most Ugandan youths would prefer to be prefer to be job seekers as opposed to job creators. Well, thank you so much. And coming in from you, Gertrude, you're saying that we are right about all that we're talking about, especially when we are comparing the upbringing of an African child and the children from the Asian continent. Well, thank you so much. You're clearly putting out the differences there and how we get to influence them when it comes to the education system. Well, do continue letting us know what you actually think could be the ideal thing to do when it comes to correlating education status, when it comes to correlating the transcripts and everything, and when it comes to the world of employment, the realities. We are very glad you were watching and sent in your opinions. Of course, as we go on, we'll be sharing the rest that are coming in. But also looking at the traffic situation this morning, I could say that for a resident of Namirembe, a resident of Bukesa, a resident of Makere and Katanga Nakulabye, this morning it's going to be quite a very hectic one for you because this area here is very, very busy. The traffic is actually taking a toll, and for the most roads that are clearly shown here on the map, it is very evident that the traffic has taken over. Coming in from here via Albert Cook Road as you're headed towards Hoima Road, I could say the traffic here is already building up and it has dominated very many parts of that same road. And as again, if you're making your way towards Nakulabye, coming in from this part of town, that is Chitakule Road, the traffic here is not going to be one that you may survive because it's already quite getting heavier as you're again crossing over to Willis Road and heading straight to Heading straight over here on Nyonyintono Road, the traffic again is very heavy already, as shown by the red spots here, by the arrows as well, and not doing anything different. And the area around Nakulabi Market here again, the traffic is already intense, so that one may be quite a tough one for you to navigate. But as you're trying to do it, please make sure that you do it with a lot of patience and a lot of caution. Continuing all the way on Makerere Road, the traffic again is already evident over in this junction, and as you continue headed towards Wandegea town, looking at Gaddafi Road, bringing in cars from this side of town straight to Makerere Road, you'll again be experiencing some heavy traffic on the same case. Looking at Wandegea, well, I must say that this one is always a busy place, and it doesn't make any difference when it comes almost to a daily. So yes, do expect the traffic, and it's clearly demarcated over here on the map, so you may not really be able to go around it. And as you're headed towards Mulago roundabout, we do have cars that are coming in from this other side. That is of course Benaisa Road, clearly showing you how heavy the traffic is around here. And also as you're continuing via Chira Road, to make sure that you join the other parts of a town, you'll be again expecting some heavy traffic over there. Taking a detour off the roundabout and joining Yusuf Lule Road is quite a clear route for now, but we know that things could be changing any minute now, since that one is also quite a very busy road on usual. Well, getting back to Bombo Road, it's quite clear this morning as we speak, but you know, the traffic is quite dynamic. It could also change any minute for now. Well, that's it from the traffic updates this morning. I now leave you to Mollen to give us more concerning the weather and climate change. Mollen, what are you having for us this morning? What do we expect?
Well, at least we do continue to see more sunny mornings across mostly the eastern part of the country, the north, but also lately we've seen a reduction in wet weather activities generally across much of the country. So I think we could also be looking at much of that for today, although we have a few areas that are picking up in terms of wet weather conditions. But well, we hope that is something that Ugandans actually love, Philomena. If I think about it, it's not like everyone likes the rains.
Yeah, the rains, we would love, if it were up to us, would love to be able to dictate what we want. We would love the rains moderately, but like you said, we are not nature, we are not scientists, so yeah. But the rains are a bit inconveniencing, but we need them. We really need them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we'll also be diving into our forecasts later on, but first let's talk about what is trending now in terms of climate talks. We're talking about COP27. It looks like all hands are on deck. Look at this, could be one of those summits where we come up with a very, very, very urgent action in terms of climate change, because what we're seeing right now is the fact that what has been done in the past, right from COP21, where we got the Paris Agreement, and the targets that were laid out in Paris have not yet been achieved, because the targets that were achieved, they were put across then in 2015, we're aiming at cutting emissions of greenhouse gases. We're aiming at targeting a temperature rise of 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2030. But the path that we're on right now is one that is really, really worrying. And of course, climate scientists are coming out to say that it's not enough that we're convening together and having these talks. What we need is action to limit global warming. And of course, it also adds to a report that just came out recently from the UN climate scientists, that is in collaboration with the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which is IPCC, a body or an organ responsible for making reports, especially in terms of climate predictions and also how far we've gone. Now, it looks like what they're saying right now is something that is worrying, because the target was to have temperatures go to 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2030, but it's not even 2030 yet, and we're seeing temperatures at 2.5 degrees Celsius. Now that is according to the current climate pledges put on that have been put across, especially when you look at the targets that people have been trying to accomplish, with governments raising up their ambitions towards limiting greenhouse gas emissions, but also more investments towards renewable energy. And it could be one of those digits we look at and we're like, this was the warmest that we did, and this is all due to human activities. So I think that even as we head towards COP, one thing that countries should be focusing on right now is bringing out their nationally determined contributions to especially aim at reducing these temperatures, because what is causing all these rise in temperatures is just simple as talking about emissions into the atmosphere. And of course, what is bringing the emissions is burning of fossil fuels. More to that. And so when we're looking at cutting investments when it comes to fossil fuels, other than, you know, countries looking at boosting their economy that way, how about they also invest in renewable energy? That is something that we're expecting to come out of COP27, but also more in terms of loss and damage. Just yesterday, we saw Nigerian government coming out to ask for more food relief after they were hit by a disaster earlier this month. And right now, over 500 people are still lacking food. And that was because of the flood event that happened over there. And of course, over 300 people also lacking homes after they were destroyed by the floods. Now, it goes to show you that however much you build up your economy basing on all these factors, but when extreme weather events come, they're going to take everyone. There's going to be a lot of loss. There's going to be a lot of damage. And the cost then is much higher than what you're gaining from, you know, benefiting or profiting from use of fossil fuels. So I think that this is one of those conferences that we're looking at to actually be very tight when it comes to investments in renewable energy, and also give accountability, because yes, Nigeria is crying for more food relief and humanitarian aid. But how about most of these funds that were put across from the, you know, the climate finance, from the green fund, that is actually supposed to be looking out for adaptation? Does this come in as, you know, the way they pledged it? Because we know that developed countries have been saying, okay, we can help with adaptation, especially for vulnerable communities, but most of these pledges never come through as well. So that is also one thing that we're looking out for in COP27, to see that most of these developed countries do come up to make good with their pledges, and maybe the money coming through can help with loss and damage. And that is what we can expect. But the conference is building up. We're looking at the early weeks of November, where scientists will be convening in Egypt to look at more ambitious targets on what we can do in terms of climate action. And of course, we do hope that that will bring out a pact that will be enforcing more that came out from last year, Glasgow Pact, that was emphasizing mostly on phasing out of coal and use of renewable energy. Now, Egypt will be a continuation of that and putting together another agreement that hopefully will bring countries together in terms of climate action. Now, away from that, we also want to take a look at what is happening across the country. We're looking at mostly a cloudy day across the southern part of the country. We do have a few clouds also starting to develop across Lake Victoria, and that will be bringing in rains, especially for the central part of Lake Victoria and western Lake Victoria Basin. But we already see those rainy conditions starting to form across areas of Jinja, Tororo, the eastern side of Lake Victoria. It looks like it's going to be a rainy morning for you, and that is the same system that will be bringing us rains even for parts of central. So that is one to look out for. Otherwise, we continue to look at a sunny morning for most areas within the country. Karamoja also starting to have a little bit of clouds, but we do expect those to clear away for mostly intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. Northern Uganda still continuing with sunny weather. We'll go ahead and take a look at the forecast, and that is coming in from Uganda National Meteorological Authority, and also take a look at how we're faring in terms of temperatures for this morning. Starting off with the central part of northern Uganda, where we have Jumani, Gulu, Kitgum and Badel. We're forecasting sunny weather, quite hot for you this morning at 28 degrees. The western part of Lake Victoria, that is where we have Masaka, Kalisi, Zimbabwe and Rakai. We're forecasting light rains, and that will be starting off with a quite chilly 25. Bara, even Dabushenyi, Rubirizi, we're forecasting isolated showers. That will be across several places within the area, and also starting off with quite a cool 24 degrees centigrade. We do expect that system to continue into the afternoon. Mount Elgon Highlands, we are forecasting mostly in terms of sunny and cloudy conditions with possibilities of rains that will be across just a few areas, and also starting off at a pleasant 26 degrees. The eastern side of Lake Victoria, where we have Tororo, Bosia, Iganga and Jinja, we're forecasting light rains and quite a warm morning for you at 27 degrees centigrade. Also, that rainy system is expected to cross over into the afternoon. Now, eastern Uganda, we're talking about Soroti, Katakwi, Amuria, Kumi, continuing with mostly sunny morning. That will be with intervals of cloudy conditions, also quite hot at 28 degrees centigrade. And we expect similar conditions later in the afternoon with mostly sunny weather for eastern Uganda. Across the eastern part of central, Ruwero, Wobblen, Zibururi, and Kaseke, we're forecasting rains. Also quite a warm morning for you at 28 degrees centigrade. Do expect some of those rains to stick around even later in the afternoon. The central parts of Lake Victoria, Mukono, Kampala, Entebbe, Wakiso, we do expect those rains to come through. That will be across several places, starting off with a pleasant 26 degrees centigrade. Also, we might be looking at some of those rains reappearing later in the afternoon across several places. Now, generally, looks like the southern half of the country might be dealing with rainy conditions for much of today, and also looking at a continuation of mostly dry weather that will be across northern Uganda, Karamoja region. Eastern Uganda continues to be dry with mostly sunny weather, same across the Lake Kyoga region. Midwestern Uganda as well expected to have mostly sunny weather for much of today, and also southwestern Uganda just with a little bit of pickup of wet weather activities, especially for areas also around Lake Albert. That is where we do expect some rains later in the afternoon, but for now it is mostly in terms of sunny and cloudy conditions. Well, that is it in terms of weather updates. We do have Good Morning Uganda agenda coming up, and of course the sports fans. We also have something for you. Ruben will be here to take you through sports. After that, we'll be looking at Good Morning Uganda Extra. My name is Mollen, Kenyena. I want to wish you a lovely morning.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by. Simply make a small deposit of 99k and pay the balance mpola. You can pay in daily, weekly or even monthly installments while you enjoy your new phone. So what are you doing today? Visit any MTN shop near you and get the MTN cupboard. That's super easy.
This weekend on UBC.
As a father, you must have rules, regulations, ways of how you connect to your children. Just like a tree that is connected to its branch. John 15 talks about how God is the farmer. Jesus is the tree. We are branches. So we are always connected to God, connected to Jesus. Then we become branches. If we don't bear fruits, we'll be trimmed off. And once we are trimmed off, we are burnt. So majority of the people that we see in broken families, those are the children that were trimmed off.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here, in the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's in the distinct aroma of our cooking to the taste of food that takes you on a journey, in the sound of homecoming and the sound of Mother Earth. In the magnificence we find on our travels and the exciting moments we experience. Ours is the kind of beauty that comes in all things big and small. All we have to do is awaken our senses and truly enjoy what's uniquely ours. Explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.
Welcome to English in a Minute. The beginning of spring means sunshine, flowers, and sneezing. Are Jonathan and Anna going to discuss how they don't have allergies? Not cool, guys.
Hey Anna, tell me how the bread baking contest went.
Jonathan, I didn't win. I should have, but I didn't.
Well, what's that trophy for?
Oh, this? I came in second.
Oh, stop. Second place is nothing to sneeze at.
It is when there are only 2 people in the contest.
The phrase "nothing to sneeze at" means that something is not small or unimportant. It should be taken seriously. Sneezing. And that's English in a minute.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Effects of climate change are glaring. We have floods, landslides, drought, food insecurity. His Excellency the President has been very passionate about this, and he has explained the effect of destroying our natural resources, especially the wetlands and cutting the forests. As Cabinet, as government, we have approved a 10 years restoration program. We are going to provide alternative sources of livelihood, and the call is that people should leave the wetlands. And we have started from today evicting people from Lubiji wetlands, and we are going to roll out the whole country. Our prayer is that those who have not yet been reached, please live peacefully. We are going to provide alternative source of livelihood as a government. Those who are still engaged in manufacturing and selling the plastic, especially the illegal non-buveras, we are going to close onto them. They are also a menace to our country. We look forward very soon having sodas back in the breakable bottles rather than the plastics which are being thrown all over to litter. I want to call upon Ugandans, let's conserve and let's use sustainably our natural resources. I thank you.
This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Water and Environment, Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Uganda National Meteorological Authority, with support from Government of Uganda, Green Climate Fund, and the United Nations Development Programme.
My name is Charles Peter Maiga, the Katikiro of Buganda. It's very important to groom and nurture children into responsible citizens. But that doesn't mean that we've got to beat them up, got to hurt them. I think we need to groom our children into people who have self-worth. That will enable us to have citizens who will be responsible and who will also look at violence with disdain.
Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.
Welcome to Friends Stadium. Everybody's ready. Wait a second, not everybody. Come on, dude, it's the FIFA World Cup. You're going to lose your seat, the ritual seat, the lucky one. Losing more than a seat, your team is going to lose. Where are you, dude? The match is about to start. Your friends won't hold out much longer. Excuse me. Finally, everything is in the right place. Hey, other hand. And you, do you have everything you need to believe?
Live from Nile Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
It's Thursday and it is fairly a bright one this morning. Thank you for keeping it with us here on UBC TV. In case you've just joined, I'm Robert Kirabo. Nyonyintono. This is your morning current affairs show every weekday from 6:30. So please do not miss. Make it a date with us. We're here to ensure that we give you all the relevant information you need to know as you go about business. We look at business, we look at politics, we look at weather, traffic. It is a full package breakfast show that really gives you and shapes the agenda of the day. This segment, Good Morning Uganda Agenda, we usually have a guest in studios, and you can be part of the topic of discussion by simply going on our various socials, and we'll be able to communicate. Now, this morning, we want to look at public vigilancy. There's so much that is happening. We've had Ebola, we have COVID still with us, but also crime. And joining me on set to discuss this is the Commissioner of Police in charge of, that is community policing, Anatoli Moletera. Good morning, Anatoli.
Robert.
Yes?
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Happy being here.
You look smart. Eh?
Thank you.
I love...
But you're equally smart.
Sure.
I think these other days that you have decided to keep me in abeyance, you're just preparing.
Really, I had to be equally smart.
Yes, you are quite terrifying.
Well decorated, I must say.
Thank you, but happy being here. And really, I want to appreciate your extension of this invitation to me on associating with the big network. And why? Because of two things. The originality of this big network is one of the issues real that I appreciate being here with. And identifying with issues that affect the community all out there. So, thank you very much for this. And I wish everybody there who is viewing on this program, happy viewing and interaction.
Well, having you, Afande, is also another interesting thing because, you know, there is so much that we get to hear, we get to learn from you on how best we can fight crime, but also how best we can be out of crime. Because, you see, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Therefore, Afande and his boys will not spare you because you don't know. So the good thing is you also get to know maybe what you didn't know whenever we have him on this set. Now, there's so much happening, and I want just to begin on a healthy bit of it and policing. We have lockdown in Kasanda and Mubende, where we've seen curfew is there, border restriction, movement restriction. But the public, one would have thought that after going through COVID and had a series of lockdown, maybe this would be something that is easy for them to understand, easy for them to abide by, despite the inconveniences it creates, most of the economic bit of it. But unfortunately, it's not the case.
You know, religion started 2,000 years ago. Have people stopped going to churches, to mosques, to worship places? No. Meaning that the essence of reminding ourselves and keeping ourselves in touch with information is very paramount. Although you have stated clearly that we have had bounces of COVID, and therefore Ugandans would be very conscious about the effects of Ebola equally, it goes with the reminding. That's why really I want to extend my appreciation to His Excellency for always coming candidly with the guidance, and upon which I want to call upon all Ugandans to stay connected to those guidance, because at the end of it all, it is our lives. You and me who are viewing this, it is your life that matters. When you go, and those whom you look after, those who have hope in you, lose you. Now, the guidelines are very clear, please, fellow members of the public there, that you need to wash your hands routinely, you need to keep social distance, you need not to interact with people when you don't know their status, but even if you know their status, you need also to be conscious about your own life only. But above all, in those places where curfew has been installed, please be calm. Be calm. At the end of it all, there is a life after this, and at the end of it all, it's a drive for you to remain focused and prevent this. You remember that this illness incubates in your body for a while. You can even see that
21 days.
Yes, 21 days, and you can even see that those who have been tested positive, especially in Uganda, were tested positive as a result of interacting with some of those contacts.
Their previous contacts.
Yes. So please, members, get to know that if you don't know where somebody has been for a while, please, it's not necessary for you to take it for granted that you interact with you. But above all, if you are told to move, but we move within, you know, people are misunderstanding and even politicizing things without. His Excellency gave clear guidance that people within stay there. You can go to your garden, but you are within. What is very important and what is what we enforce is when you want to cross from there, coming away from there. 2, carrying people, especially borders. But if you are carrying your food, who is going to arrest you on the same that? So this is the time at which I want to call upon everybody, especially our leaders, especially leaders. Please, they have the morals. Let's have the desire to work together and support police and support other security agencies in ensuring that those who voted for you, by the way, they voted for you when they are alive and normal. But nobody has ever died and gone to the grave that has ever voted for you. And therefore, I want to call upon politicians. Please, don't politicize. It is a social issue, a social problem where we all need each other, because at the end of it all, if we don't work together, we shall not be able to overcome this. So you can be a leader to call upon your people to remain focused. You can be a leader to call upon your people to obey the guidelines. But at the same time, don't always come there to criticize. You know, critique is good, but criticizing is so much a problem that we have realized in Uganda. It's just like a hobby, which I want to find out. Who pays you at all times criticizing even what you have not conceptualized? Knowledge is power. So always take time to read, to know, to learn, and talk from an informed point of view, because at the end of it all, we have our topmost leader, His Excellency, coming always to guide. We have the Minister of Health coming in to guide. We have other health officials coming in. But these are people who have no solution always, but coming. They are, you know, they attack everyone like they are
critics.
I don't know why.
Now, also, let's also talk about this. People, of course, there is a rumoring, not confirmed anywhere, and must be very specific, apart from the association that brings doctors together, medical workers, where one of their leaders came out and said, I think it is wise if we institute a lockdown in Kampala right now, but that is not confirmed. This is an association, and maybe there could be his views. We wait for the final say. But there is a belief that when these lockdowns, Anatoly, when they are put in place, it is an opportunity for police to harvest the mistreatment, extortion. It is more of an opportunity. It is a time for some members of the force to reap big. Yet it is a trying moment. People don't have money. People come to make ends meet. Officers just rejoice.
Yes, it is true from the point of view of what you have said. And that, because what you have said, I've also heard about it. But you see, crime is produced as a result of opportunity. Opportunity. A criminal or a suspect or a thief will come to attack you when he realizes that there is an opportunity for that. What is that? If you lose if you leave your door open or at ajar or with the loose nuts, then for somebody who is criminally minded comes and finds that the door has created an opportunity for him to enter your place, what will he do? He will always enter that place and look for the valuable. most probably the phones, the screens, and other valuable therein. So why would you want to give opportunity to those whom you are saying are mistreating people, are extorting money? Because one, do you mean to say when guidelines are given, are there guidelines that are given for extortion? What are those guidelines given? They are guidelines given to prevent. So you see,
but then for you don't police, you extort.
No, listen, I know you are not talking your mind, you are talking the mind of those who are, but don't exaggerate. What I would like to call upon our esteemed listeners, viewers, please don't give opportunity to some of those individuals in uniform to extort money from you. Because the guidelines are, don't move from 7 o'clock to 6 o'clock. So why do you move at 8?
I could have gotten late somewhere.
And so?
Or had an inconvenience or anything.
That is not an automatic whatever. It's good, yes, you may find a reasonable police officer whom when you talk to will say, please, my motorcycle or my vehicle or whatever broke down, and that's the reason why. But that is not a golden rule for you to assume that that will be the order. But secondly, you'll also find such a police officer who will not want to listen to that. And as a result, do you know, by the way, what happens? You see, the good thing with you, Robert, when you are representing the mindset of people who are viewing this program and those who are not viewing, that you always want to look for the soft target of blame game. But let me ask you, if the policeman tells you, because you are moving past time of COVID, I'm going to take you to the cells and detain you, and you say, let's go.
Is it a hotel?
It is a custody.
It is custody?
Yes.
Would you willingly?
Listen, do you mean to say that, is there anywhere in this world where you have heard of hotels at the police?
Because
the police,
one is vulnerable.
No.
This is a person who has had issues. They are late. And
the work of the police.
But you have the right to pardon. It is also one of at your discretion.
But it is also, but he has also the right to detain, to keep you in custody.
True.
Yes. So why do you talk about extortion without looking at the other side? You know, sometimes there is an issue. There are triggering factors to some of what we are referring to as extortion. You know, we have some of our people say, tugirenga Abaganda, tugirenga abasajja.
Ngabo mulembe guno.
Mbabo mulembe guno. By the way, abo mulembe guno bali smart ngagu.
Anatoli.
So these are things really. Now, at the end of the day, the man begins enticing the policeman to fall into his bait. You know, these are realities. Yes, it's a two-way. You may find that one policeman starts it all, but you also have some of those who trigger it all. And say, please,
I will tell you, man, what's the like, hey, you know what to do.
So these are things that really we need to understand and contextualize them. But having said that, I don't want to sit on this network and assume that I'm glorifying the acts of some of our policemen. I want to categorically say extortion in any form, whether induced, abated, or solicited for, is unacceptable and punishable, both criminally and disciplinary.
I love the words you've used, criminal and disciplinary, but Anatoly, help me understand such incidents. I've seen a number of people sometimes rounded up in curfew, and the police officers are very rigid at any inducement, like you've used. They resist that temptation. These are supposed to sleep in cells. The following morning, getting them from police, at the end of the day, they still pay money. You know, what reporting channels? Because we can talk about this inducement and talk about this corruption. As long as our people don't know how to fight for their rights. That even a person who has slept in cells, now it is not going to court, where again you're going to pay heavily than if maybe at the roadblock where you were gotten, you would have paid cheaper, but you pretended to be a good citizen and say whatever. So what are the channels? Because every time you have these lockdowns, we don't know if there will be COVID 2040, if there will be whatever. Now, who knew that Ebola would still lead to some part of this country into a lockdown? So what are those reporting mechanisms? Or what are you doing as a force to make this a deterrent? Because inducement will happen. Temptations may happen. Officers also have needs as we do. But as heads here, what do you do? Either to make it something that is highly risky compared to what it is today, where in some places it's become the order of the day. You're late, tambula muna akasente. When you find them, this is what you're going to do. Your driving car doesn't have rules. This corruption, what are the reporting mechanisms? A person in Mubende who will tell that once it be a few minutes to 7, you will see either the police team, they will move and get who they get, pardon those who have given, then others are gotten at police after paying. How do we end this? Because there's a vulnerable person. Even if it's you wouldn't want to sleep in a cell, I guess. Because that is what that says. You would want to find all alternative means to ensure you don't sleep in the cell. Or you wouldn't want to be taken to court. You find all alternative ways if it can end at police. So the giver is a problem. But if the receiver doesn't receive, I think we can better address this.
Now, Robert, the major reason why the Uganda Police Force adopted community policing approach is because of 2 or 3 reasons. One, that the relationship between the community and the police was waning, was breaking down. 2, the fear for each other and suspicion on each other's side was also great. But most importantly, that we need to prevent the occurrence of some of these causes of the fear, especially the crime, causes of bad blood relationship and the like. So what community policing deals with is to instill confidence in the people we police, to instill confidence in any person who may fall either a victim in any whatever. Now, one of the most important things to have or to approach our policemen is be factual on what you are talking about. Tell a policeman. And when you are factual without ficting, any professional policeman will definitely listen to you and he will appreciate your point. But in case you fail, your major interest is to show how do you handle some of the excesses in case they occur. You know, it is just like in a home. Sometimes when you go to ask for a plate, you don't ask from children. You ask from the head of the family. And who is that one? Either the father, the mother, but as long as the head of the family. So, in case you feel you are victimized and you are not given adequate support, there are referral mechanisms in the police. One is you can go and approach the DPC, or even call for the DPC to come and listen to you. But at the end of it all, you know, every morning we have what we call suspects parade, where suspects who slept in our custody are brought out to explain themselves. So if you are if you are such a person and you find anybody who is a head supervising suspects parade, that is the opportunity for you to. But that said, it's not automatic. I know that we have some of our police officers who don't want to listen. They don't want to listen. You know, sometimes listening is a
Some it is syndicate, the juniors are working for the senior.
That is yours. But what I'm driving at is if you feel that you are victimized and then the senior is not listening to you, you have relatives. Maybe your wife, your brother, your husband, you have a counsel who can be able to approach the RPC, that is in case you needed the intervention of the RPC, or we have the professional standard unit. If not, we are also there. That if there is anything that you think the area police has not supported you, we shall be able to come in and give a balanced view about what you are talking about. But my request to you is, don't exaggerate. You know, sometimes whenever we exaggerate situations, and facts sometimes come afterwards, to me it affects me. I don't like such scenarios. Don't always a scenario to exaggerate. Be factual and truthful. We shall assist you and handle your problem as expected. But most importantly, in order to fight any level of extortion, please, there are no monies that are required at the police without a receipt. Please, those who are listening to this, any person who wishes to extort money from you, ask for a receipt. A receipt for a police bond, ask for it. A receipt for PF3, ask for it. But there are monies that you are supposed to pay, which is official, by the way. Differentiate this. Services for which we do not pay for are as follows: police bond, PF3 for medical examinations. We have canine services, those are dog services. We have fire brigade services, those are. Then this business of putting fuel, those are services that we are rendering for free. In case any person, any policeman asks you to pay for those services, tell him to give you a receipt.
The car is there, but it doesn't have fuel.
Let him give you a receipt.
For the fuel? For
the fuel. So that in case there is any desire for you to be funded, to be given support, hey, you contact us for those and the. But there are services for which you are supposed to pay.
Okay.
Services, you want escort. You want a gun. You want a report. An accident has happened, then you want, those are services that you pay, and you get what we call a general receipt. And that general receipt, when you get it from the OC station, you go and pay. Upon payment, which shows that you have paid, then you can be given the report. That money does not go to individual police officers' account. It goes to government consolidated fund account.
Well explained, Afande Anatoli Matera, who happens to be the community liaisons officer, Uganda Police. He's a commissioner of police. And we are still discussing, that is, policing social problems. Now, we've almost entered the month of November. And usually crime tends to shoot up from November. I don't know if people are preparing for end of year celebrations, Christmas, and for various reasons. And actually that is what we want to know even before we go to how best we can safeguard our lives and our properties. Why does crime shoot up at such a time?
You know, you have brought it well, and it is true that we always put our personnel at high alert during this period of time. Why? You know, this is a period of concluding a year in which, one, people make end of year resolutions, like you. You made a resolution that I will marry you, but I've never seen you with a ring. I don't know whether that marriage has never happened, or if it happened, you throw away the ring. But at the end of it all, you find that even the resolution you have made is not being fulfilled. So if it is not being fulfilled, what happens? There is a lot of growing anxiety among different forces. Somebody is saying, I'm going to buy for you a car. And the year goes, no car. I'm going to buy for you land and construct for you. Some people even promised constructing houses on water. But when all that happens and there is nothing forthcoming, anxiety grows up. So these are things where, because of individual expectations versus social expectations, tend to conflict, and as such, people want to make ends meet at the end of the year in order to sound that they have made something come true. So that's why you find that so many things which contravene the law happen. One, people make a lot of forgeries, people bring a lot of counterfeit products on whatever, people want to grab, people want to rush, you know, and that's why you find even the tax people in the transport sector moving around fast, you know, want to conclude the year with at least something sounding. So a number of issues really dictate as a result of the year ending, and that's why you find that in some places people take the law in their hands because they want to think that the year cannot end without them coming up with something tangible. So all that said, this is the opportunity that I want to call upon you, that those who are focused on working harder get to know that there are also those who are targeting you. So as they target you, be very conscious. Be very conscious. You know, the Igbo have a saying that when you see a frog jumping during daytime, then you must know that there is something targeting its life. So equally so, I would like to call upon you, as we tend to go to conclude this year, I mean, conclude the year, you need to be cautious. Now, what happens? We have so many categories of people who are victims to this. We have the Mvabulaya group.
Basama.
Basama.
They are here to celebrate,
I am
splash
telling
cash,
you,
enjoy.
yes.
They have worked the entire...
Yes, we have those Basama, as you have said. We have these ones who have also come from the Arab whatever.
Middle East.
The Middle East. They also
EU.
want to, yes, they want to come and also celebrate. So some of those people fail to appreciate the environment here and generalize and think that things are as usual, that whatever you see, whoever you see is really a friend, and therefore you need to trust him.
You're coming from United Arab Emirates.
You see,
very excited.
What I'm even finding is that brothers can no longer trust brothers. Children can no longer trust their parents. Mother, father can no longer. Relatives is the worst. So please, when you come, take your time to calm down and study the environment. Before you indulge in saying you are going to buy a property, please be conscious. We have even those who have been dating on, what are these?
Online.
They've been dating online. Now they want to come and seal it over to Chigali. Who is that one who sang to Chigali?
Ediawe.
That one. So you want to come and Muchigale. Yet the person whom you are talking of, Kuchigala na ye, is a cornistar. Crook. Is a crook. He will leave you very devastated. So take your time. Take your time. And sometimes, as a result of that, people end up taking their lives. Or even whoever has planned for you takes your life as a result of seeing that you have become glued. So please be very, very conscious, especially the Vabulaya group. Many of them have ended up weeping their total life saving, which they have been accumulating for a period of time, ends up in a spell of what? In a spell of a day, in the hands of crooks. So if you think you needed something, you can overcome it by one, doing your own study on good agents, property dealers around. Two, getting a relationship where you have invested time studying the kind of a person you want. You see, Bwana Robert, marriage is a life time engagement. I don't know why people want to spend wedding or conduct wedding in hours, and you are conducting with somebody whom you have been dating online, who even has been wearing these artificial barbs, but at the end of the day, when you come to the real person, he's mukalo, gonja. Those are some of the regrets as a result of your being, is a calm. Remember, is a calm. Izego. And that's how. So, but that will have a very negative impact on you if you don't take time. But you see, again, as I talk like that, what interests me is that the blame game, you have gone into a relationship which has gone sour. Some of you end up at the police. You want the police to come and... Did you come for engagement with the police? Did you begin your dating with the police?
Well, you have to protect life and property.
Yes, on information.
On information?
Yes.
Because we believe there's an institution that is supposed to... If things go wrong, and maybe they have reached... This one has robbed the other person of their money, sometimes beating, we have to come to you, definitely.
Robert, and our viewers who are listening to this program, police is capable of protecting your life and property on information. Don't come to say, they have stolen me. That is not the information, that is reactive. And yet we are saying in community policy, we need to prevent. Prevention needs seek for counsel.
Do you have those services?
Yes, come. I might not even render in there. You are saying, do you have? What am I doing here? I'm providing these services. Who of you is paying me for these services? I am counting the salary that I earn from government to provide these services. And therefore, go to police, walk in at our community liaison offices, Children Family Protection Unit, the DPCs. Let them, you use them. Don't always come there, you know, those are blame games. And we can't really build police on the basis of blame game. All the time you are blaming. Police, police, at what level? Police, yes. Wakoze nafa appointment.
Nabakubidde mulina okubaawo.
Yes, what kubidde nga tukola ki? You know, these are facts. You see, let me tell you.
There is a standard that Ugandans expect the police to be at Anatoli.
And we strive to meet those standards. But let's understand that there are factors which are beyond the police level. When you tell that I have called the police to come and there is jam, do you expect the police to arrive early? You have called the police to come, but you are living in Katogo. Even the geography of where you are staying, you cannot even describe it yourself. Do you expect the police to perform miracles? Yes. Even when you are entering a place, you go there diagonally. What do you expect the police to do? So please, there are certain factors which we really understand, which we need to understand. That indeed these are beyond. But in instances where we don't have some of those challenges, we are able to execute our mandate we are able to respond as expected. Haven't ever had, by the way, these are the things really that I find some of the Ugandans very interesting. When we perform anything good, nobody talks about it. It is for granted.
Doesn't make news when you do your duty.
Doesn't make news.
Because that's what you're supposed to do.
There is but listen, in life there are two sides. Why do you always want to look at the false? Are you an angel? Maybe even in heaven, do you know that even God sent our angels? Because, you know, the standards of angelic, they broke it and they sent them away from heaven. So I want to inform our listeners that yes, we have some of those operational challenges, but they are not the routine.
Now, this brings me, Anatoli, to help our members of the public understand and know what they should do in case of any crime. Most of the times I find it very annoying and funny. A person is calling a colleague they know to help them when they're in a problem, yet they have a police post just next to them. How should Ugandans ensure they can easily access police in terms of anything? Because sometimes criminality happens, and maybe it could have been fought, but by the time police gets to know, by the time police arrives at the scene, things are already a bit messy. So what should I have on me that can enable me easily access, easily get help from police? So that we remove these issues of to work with the police in Gateja, I called someone in Kampala, I told them there is a fire in Entebbe, the thieves were breaking, I had seen things like that.
And that is the kind of apathy. You see, for example, we may even be taking time talking about all of this information, but very few people are investing time to listen to it. They take it for granted. You see, there is a scenario where some Ugandans have grown at a level of taking everything for granted. Tebinkwatako, sibyange, byabwe, tulirabireyo. That is the scenario. You are bringing in that description of that. But you see, the Baganda have a saying, omugo gwawala teguta musota. This is a stick from a far distant area cannot be able to refer to it as a basis for you to kill a snake. Instead, get the one which is near here too. What am I trying to bring about? We have a tendency of Ugandans cramming telephone contacts of big people. I can call this one. You'll find some of them. Oh, your money. Yes, oh money. But am I in Karamoja? Am I in Soroti? Am I everywhere? I can't be everywhere. That power is only for God to be everywhere. But for me, I can't be everywhere. As Mleterwa. But we have our police everywhere. And therefore, I want to call upon those who are listening and viewing this program. Have a free interaction with your area police, and you know your area OC, get to have his number. Get to have his number. In case you have any distress, call him. Get to have the number of the DPC of your place. In case you have any distress, call him. Get to have the number of your area RPC. Get to know that when you have any distress, call him. But also, within the vertical, the horizontal area there, we have the LOCs. But some people even don't have the numbers of their own LOCs. And partly you don't blame them, because some of the LOCs, ever since they were elected, they've never gone back.
So they stay within communities?
They stay there, but every time you are calling them, the telephone number you are calling is currently unavailable. And therefore, there is
and some don't see the need of having it. Most so when you're talking about, you see, crime of late is more in even much as we have slums and densely populated areas where there is crime that is high. But when you go also to these areas where we've had outstanding crimes like shootings and all that, you find that many of Ugandans today see police and local leadership as something they don't need. The person has their fence, have their CCTVs, they drive home, they move out of home. They feel it would be an extreme when they would need police.
No, you see, that is disguisement. There is never a time when you say that because I have a perimeter fence or I have CCTV, that is enough. Those are approaches. Those are avenues of ensuring that you are more secure. But social connection is very, very, very important. By the way, you are even more secure when you have social connection through neighborhood watch than when you have a perimeter. And those are some of the scenarios that we have always got, especially in those houses where there are perimeter walls. That when crime is being committed there, it's not easy to ascertain. And when you are even responding, it's not easy to reach there quickly. Simply because somebody has that self-glorification in form of a perimeter wall. That's not enough. That's not enough. Those are individual social network of ensuring that you really make yourself very strong. But the connection between you with your neighbors, the connection between you with the area police, the connection between you with the LOCs is very, very fundamental to ensuring that harmony exists, identification of problems that affect the community exists. You see, under that, there was a rich man who used to think really because he has his wealth. There was no need for him to even greet the surrounding people. He was always threatening them. I'm going to buy you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. So one time, fire started in the house. And he tried to make an alarm. Nobody was able to respond. Nobody. Why? People say, oyo mugaga, oyo mugaga, asigale. That is the kind. But when you are such a person who is nice and connected to people, the first thing they will do is, chitukwatako. It's our concern. And they all come to. So please, don't disguise yourself in that way. Security is a good for all. And don't think that it's enough for you to be in your perimeter. Stay connected.
Let me have your concluding remark, more so when it comes to that is crime prevention, but also as we approach this time or season of the year where crime is most likely to be high.
All of that said, I want to call upon fellow Ugandans. We put on this uniform for you. And therefore, work, connect, trust, let's move together. Uganda is our country. Nobody can be able to develop Uganda unless we are all focused. And crime is one of the setbacks that we need all the time to prevent. 2, prevention is better than cure. What do I mean? That let's look for problems that could cause crime in our areas and prevent them before crime occurs. Because at the end of it all, it is most effective than fighting crime. Because fighting crime involves a lot. First of all, you cannot be able to bring back the loss. You cannot really restore the dignity of somebody who maybe has been victimized as a result of crime. But when you prevent, you can be able to see that there is much more you have saved than what you have lost. But lastly, and most important, it is all our collective responsibility. Whether you are a pastor, a reverend father, a cleric, LOC, police, the entire community, it is our collective responsibility, both constitutionally and even divinely, that we need to work and make Uganda better. May the good Lord continue to bless you.
Well, before I let you go, something has just come to my mind that I feel is very, very important. You've talked about working together, but Afande, I don't know if you've noticed of late, what should be done to build public trust and also bring back the respect of police? There's certain things I see that hurt me. I'm not a police officer, but a police officer comes maybe to institute a lawful order. And civilians, you know, when an army comes, they are very humble and they abide. You see, you talk about police and you hear, how do we bring back what went wrong and how do you rectify that? That you have that dignity and respect of a man putting on uniform. I'm not saying Anatole in particular. Talking of some members of that this uniform it revives or it regains it regains its image that among the public. How do we get back to the road? I feel there is something that we lost so much, the glory.
No, you must understand that it is during this era that the police can come out and interact with the community. What you need to understand is that it is historical. It was a historical injustice which was created by the colonials when they were introducing the police. How? When they create the police, when they introduced the police, they established barracks. They established police stations. That those who were supposed to work as in terms of policing, they were supposed to only live in the barracks and not in the community. So that kind of historical injustice continued to grow and spread up to post-independent era. Now, this kind of impression or this kind of scenario is being reversed under this government from 1986. That we no longer emphasize on the need to be in the barracks, but to live and stay connected to the community. And that's why even in 1989, during the reign of this government, that community policing was introduced in Uganda. Why? To upset that historical injustice which was created by the colonials. You see, some people tend to compare police, our police with the European police. You know, these Europeans are the ones who introduced police, so they knew how to tailor it around their community. For us, our own police system, which was on the basis of Gwanga Muje, was distorted, was destroyed, was buried. And they introduced this one of putting on uniform, this one of putting on what? You come only to arrest people, you have no time to talk to them, you have no time to interact with them. You are also, you act as an agent of government, not an agent of the people. So during this government, we are saying no, power belongs to people, and every force belongs to the people. So police force must be interactive, connected, and live with the community. That's why for me, I live in the community in Kampala, not in the barracks. So that's why you see, you find that because of that
people are so used to you. Is it
yes. No, they even own you. They know that you are part of them. Because by the way, it is very important for us to have that kind of mindset. Why? You come from the community.
Yes.
You live in the community.
You'll go back to the community.
You go back to the community. Where what you eat, you buy it from the community. So this kind of aura that we put on, it's not there. It's not.
But do you at one time feel the glory of police, the image of police has deteriorated among the public? Do you feel it?
I feel it, but it is not on the police only. It is on the social, the moral fabrics of our people. The moral fabrics. If you talk about how do they regard even their politicians. So people's moral, communal morals. And the morals don't come from the blue. They start from home. You see, when you talk about there is a man who was crying yesterday. I saw him on WhatsApp. He's called Majembele. He was crying. I said, it depicts the morals of people we are talking about. And morals don't come, are not built in
institutions.
In institutions. Not institutions, in organizations. It is a system that starts from home. As a father, how do you behave? As a mother, how do you behave? Starts with the schools. In a school, how do you behave? In a church, how do you behave? If you are such a cleric who cannot respect the dignity of a fellow human being, you talk as if life belongs to you. You talk as if you have all the power about it. So these are things. Now, because of this, it also has a bigger bearing on the police. Because at the end of the day, those who join come from you. So if you really find a person who has been watching a father and mother battering each other in a home, do you expect that he, when he becomes a policeman, will he do miracles? No. And Secondly, we have the tendency of quick gains, quick. We are always looking for miracles. Miracles? Where are they? Anything that is called a miracle is something that doesn't happen instantaneously.
Yeah.
It grows gradually. And we have also some of these religious institutions which preach miracles, but Jesus. But Jesus' miracles were in ordinary things that were existing.
Healing the blind.
Physical. But he was healing both physically and spiritually. His major emphasis was even majorly spiritual.
Before you become a Catholic, I just have to say, let me just thank you for being here this morning. Well, this has been Anatoly Muletera, the Commissioner, Uganda Police in charge of community policing, with whom we usually discuss a range of issues, but above all, it is your security. Remember, you're the first line of security. You're the first line of security before police comes in. You have the first responsibility to ensure you're safe, your life and your property. Also, get down to police. Have the relevant contacts and be mindful. Let's promote neighborhood watch. We are entering November. November to December, that is usually those months. They're usually, like he explained earlier, crime is at its peak. How do you remain safe? Don't over party. Whatever you do, don't show off with the money. Some people don't have money. So you're splashing, you're showing. You're inviting crime, most with social media now. There are many things that you're doing and are putting you in harm's way. Everywhere you are, you're posting. Wear this, be very careful, because at the end of the day, it's your life. Have a lovely day. God bless you.